Hey, this is Stephen Platinum, your friend in wrestling, with Platinum against AEW Rampage and the buy-in. We're just going to do everything at once, just like we're going to talk about the SmackDown show with their run over. Fascinating stuff. The buy-in, um, again, our AEW, I mean, let's talk about the obvious thing, right? Is this tactic going to net them higher ratings than SmackDown? Of course not. And I don't know if that's even the goal. I mean, it would be nice, certainly from the AEW perspective, they would want that. But this is about um, getting fans who may not even know who they are to learn about AEW. That's the difference in this fight. When WWE runs ads on AEW programming, that's pretty much wasted money. Because if you know AEW, you know WWE. But the opposite is not necessarily true. That's something that people forget in this thing. AEW is not WCW. WCW had years and a lineage, and people knew who they were, right? AEW is still fighting for the recognition game. And going at SmackDown with this buy-in, of course, not more people are going to watch their YouTube show than watch SmackDown. However, they can win in other ways. And let's see if they did. They opened with the Tay Conti and Santana Garrett, which to me, they gave them 5 minutes. They got to do some stuff, and Tay Conti won. In a match that wasn't particularly great, I don't think they had good chemistry. But the point was, look, we have hot women too. I mean, anybody who says different, please explain it to me. Then you have Bobby Fish, who WWE fans would recognize from NXT, and they let him light it up with Lee Moriarty, who is one of the latest AEW signings, and just let them have this really great match. And it was fantastic, and something that you're not going to tend to see on SmackDown or Raw. Fish getting the win here with that brutal looking buzzsaw kick. Very good. But then Bryan Danielson and Minoru Suzuki. It's one of those things that if you stumbled upon this, you would watch it, and what you would get is almost 30 minutes of an unbelievably great match. I didn't know Suzuki could really go like this. Of course, Danielson is the perfect opponent, but all the countering stuff at the end, just so awesome. And like I just told a friend of mine, this Forbidden Door stuff, and Suzuki basically touring the indies right now, and he's going to show up in Impact, and he's had a couple matches now in AEW. This is the kind of stuff that doesn't really show up on a ledger sheet, but it's one of these things that engenders goodwill and this idea that AEW is really getting things done in a pro wrestling context. And it portends bad omens for the WWE in the long term. All right, so now we get into Rampage, which SmackDown was deliberately doing a 30-minute overrun on Fox Sports 1 in order to mess with. So they opened with CM Punk and Matt Sydal. Now, a lot of people have said, oh, CM Punk really hasn't wrestled anybody, and he's not what he used to be. Dude, this was a great match. Matt Sydal is an opponent that you want. He's the best guy who, at putting dudes over and making them look good, that we have had. That we have in the modern game. And no exception here. CM Punk just showing his stuff, having a great match, and wins. And it looked great. So when you when you follow up Suzuki and Danielson with Punk and Sydal, dude, it's great. The Bunny and Ruby Soho. The Bunny has not looked better in a match in AEW. She did some great stuff in TNA/Impact, but Ruby Soho really made sure she looked good here. And Ruby won with a backslide, which I thought was interesting. Bunny was competitive enough with her that she had to win via a wrestling move as opposed to quote-unquote her finisher. And they were given time, which I thought was very important as well. And then finally we closed with the Inner Circle, Sammy, Jericho, and Hager against the Men of the Year and Junior Dos Santos. Boy, they made sure Junior looked great in this. Really cool stuff, honestly. And then a bunch of shenanigans at the end Masvidal comes in with that flying knee. Scorpio Sky can get the pin. It was really muddy and there was a lot going on. Thank goodness they didn't do this for any of the other matches. It was a lot, but the point was made, and that Masvidal flying knee, boy, they're going to get that thing over if it kills them. This has been Stephen Platinum.